Today, I just looked at the nice little post by Shane Van Stein. Do I agree with him going back in the council? No. Why? Because everybody says he's honest, he's this, he's that. No, he's a liar. And you're a fraud, Shane. And you conspired with others to steal my land, Shane. And I have the evidence, Shane, if you wish to put the matter before the court. But look at that. I put it there and proved you had no authority to do what you did. And you lied. You misled and deceived Landgate through your lawyers. Don't say you didn't, because I've got a copy of all the letters filed by the lawyers to Landgate. Hurry up and transfer the land, because there's a contest on who owns the land before the court. And all the other documents. But that's not even part of what you did. You think you're such a nice little bloke, everyone is going to say, oh, what a lovely guy. Obviously, all your friends voted for you, and that's the 34% if you actually got that amount. But it doesn't matter what you got. You see, you had another title created, another original title, you call it, and according to Landgate, that's exactly what they did. There's a big problem with that. I won the case. I had 43 people in the court, some of them from over east, that couldn't believe the lies you come out with afterwards, and are willing to go to court if you decide you have the audacity to try and think, well, I'm going to be honest because I think so. No, you're dishonest, and I don't feel, it's my opinion, you should ever be in any position where it requires government trust or people trust. Simply because you joined the Australian Bulldust Club and you lied and said you won when you didn't. I did. How would the Australian Bulldust Club know whether I won or lost? Because they weren't in the court when the magistrate told the lawyers for you, civic legal, they cannot give you the orders you sought to remove my property off my land. Then he said, I cannot give you an order in relation to ownership of the land. I don't have that authority. Even if he ruled against that, he would still be wrong, simply because only a justice of the Supreme Court can sign off on land. And Magna Carta states clearly you can't touch it. But let's go back to the truth of who you work for. You certainly do not work for the people. You get an overinflated wage that you should never get, because municipal authorities are run traditionally, and always were, free of any payment to any person that's there. It's a voluntary situation. Was. You started paying councillors quite a while back. They weren't paid before then. They have no areas that they look after. They literally do what they're told. And add to that the fact that you had a vote and you got a small number voted to against the amalgamation between Greenough and Geraldton. But you messed up. You decided that all the people who didn't vote voted, then obviously voted for the Shire, and defrauded the people of Geraldton and the people of Greenough. What for? To gain money. That's all it was for. It's nothing else except the extraction of money from people without authority. You see, the area of Greenough is in the state constitution, the one put in place with the letters patent. You can't change that. If you say you can, you're a liar. If you do it, you're a traitor and a thief. But just leave that bit alone. When I won the case, and I did, you had no authority to do anything, but you went on my land and you stole several items off there, one being an F-250, partly restored, worth approximately 10 grand. And that isn't taken into consideration. You took it off the land without a court order and without authority. No court order, no authority, but you did it anyway. You'd already taken possession of the land, which you did without authority, so you stole it. The police joined in with you and decided, oh, it's civil, so we won't get involved, even though what was presented to them was the fact that I won the court case. You had sold the land to one of your Freemason mates. In fact, you're a Freemason, so is he. It doesn't interest me, the fact that you did it. You think you can get at me by what you did. You stole the land. You stole $152,000 of the money that came from the land, because your lawyers decided, oh, look, we will take the rest of the money because it's extra interest. No. McGowan and Dodgy Roger said that if the Parliament passes a law, and they didn't, they passed a statute which is not law, then doesn't matter what the court says, they could take the land anyway, and they did. And that's how they justified it. So what you got now, a conspiracy between the court, civic legal, the police, the state parliament, and Landgate, because they had no court order. So they stole my land. You conspired together to steal the land with your nonsense and lies. No matter what you say, you stole the land. You lied and said I lost the case. You lied. We got 43 witnesses that say you lied, plus the magistrate. So, Shane, why would anyone vote for you when you lied? You conspired with others to steal property. You conspired with your lawyers to take $152,000 more than you alleged I already owed in costs and interest and everything else, which is what you put to the court, which was not ruled on, except he couldn't rule in relation to the land. So, and previously you didn't get an order. Stephen Sharrett, when he was a magistrate who deliberated early on your case, said, I'm not going to vote, I'm not going to rule for you, but I'm not going to rule against you. And of course you'll appeal against the decision because you want closure. And I said, yes, of course I'm going to appeal against the decision. I didn't mislead him, didn't deceive him. I filed into the Supreme Court. And that case is on YouTube, High Treason and Fraud in the Supreme Court of Western Australia, because all they did, Nunes and Murphy, is add to your fraud. The issue before the court wasn't your claim. Why did they allow your solicitor to turn up in the court and do submissions, which I never got a copy of and never saw and still can't get a copy of? Because they knew they'd committed fraud and theft and treason. Nunes and Murphy, I told them that the Magistrates Court Act is invalid by transgressing the Constitution. It claims that the oath in the Magistrates Court is lawful when it's not. It's I, Christopher Milosevic, do solemnly swear that I'll serve the people and the state of Western Australia. The people are the state. But the people he swore oath to, as I said in 2019, was the state created under the Acts Amendment Repeals Court and Legal Practice Act, that act which removed all reference to the Crown out of our state laws, not statutes. Removed it out. That is treason. That is fraud. And you then become part of that. The Magistrates Court Act says prerogative writs and mandamus prohibitions certiorari cannot be issued against officers of this court. 75.5 of the Constitution says they can. So it transgressed there. It goes further because magistrates are selected by the governor of the state as justice of the peace, who sit for a period of 5 years or more, and then can sit with another justice of the peace, because there has to be two, as stipendiary magistrates. You don't know that because you don't bother to study the law and don't believe in it. But, there's a lot comes out, and I haven't finished yet, because that same act says that the Magistrates Court is under the direct control of the Supreme Court of Western Australia. Funny that, because the Supreme Court Act was made by a parliament that had never submitted itself to the correct state constitution of Western Australia. Never did it. I showed that in the court. You think I'm wrong? You want to have a private talk to me, Shane? I'm only a phone call away, but you don't want to listen because you're a liar, you're a thief, and you're party of an act of treason to steal people's land. When Western Australia did not put the correct constitution in place, put a fraudulent one in, that was the act, the Local Government Act was added to in 1979, not the lawful one. Every single state by 1970 had knocked out their state constitutions. So in 1979, when they added Local Government Act to every state constitution, they added it to unlawful ones. Can you speak an authority into being when none exists in law? No, you can't. No, you can't. You think everybody is as stupid as you. You say it, so it's got to be true. Do I think there's a lawful election going on in the City of Geraldton? No. Do I think all your friends are voting for you? Obviously they are. What a wonderful man. They just don't know you. Or they choose not to look at what you've been doing. You're sitting, if you get in, at the head of a criminal organisation. That issue is before the court tomorrow. And the onus is on every single person, including the City of Geraldton, to prove they have the authority to be there. The magistrates, lawyers, and in case you haven't realised, and obviously you haven't, I did a video quite a while back on the invalidity of Sue versus Hill in the High Court. It's unlawful for several reasons. The document I was sent was pretty accurate, only didn't go back to 1901, only went back to 1972, but what is said is correct. After 1972, before then, was a problem. But 1979, one of the issues before the court in Geraldton, which you better listen to because you're going to get caught in treason and fraud, Shane Van Stein. You're going to get caught in treason and fraud simply because I'm making you aware of the treason and fraud. When the purported federal parliament, which has never lawfully existed, and I've proved that even yesterday and over the last few weeks, there's never been a lawful federal parliament. So none of those acts are correct. None of the judges selected, which were selected by the parliament, alleged federal one, are lawful and still are not. Since 1979, when they removed the separation of powers contrary to Chapter 1, 2 and 3 of the Constitution, legislature, executive and judicature, and joined them all together under direct control of the Prime Minister, who does not exist in law. And you think that's good? Now, getting back to the $152,000, there's never been a court order that I owe that money. Nunes and Murphy committed treason in the Supreme Court. A barrister stood up and said, arrest those judges, that's treason. And he was correct. He was correct. And there were a lot more than 43 witnesses in the court that witnessed it. So, Shane Van Stein, you owe me 10 grand for the F-250, you and the council, and you owe me 152,000 that you stole in purported extra interest, which does not exist. Why haven't I done anything about it? Because your mates, majority of judges who are Freemasons, won't let me into the court. They've tried everything to block me out because they don't want the truth, nor do they want to comply with it. But going back to Sue versus Hill, when they tried to negate section 44 subsection I as the letter I in brackets, the problem they had with that, by doing what they did, they removed that out of the Constitution. They removed the whole Constitution by declaring England a separate nation, or a separate country, or both, which is what they ruled. They negated the whole lot. So how can somebody sitting in a paddock with no authority, being all the parliaments of the states and no lawful federal parliament, how can they rule through their courts that there's a Queen of Australia and a King of Australia? You've taken out Defender of the Faith, their heirs and successors. So how did King Charles become successor to the throne of England when his mother died? And what value would it have to us if we were an independent, separate nation? But look, they come out here, like a good boy. Come on, stop your nonsense. You remove the oath of allegiance, that's treason. No judges in this country, they're all quorums. A quorum is an unelected judge, a person impersonating a judge who is not one. You just do not have the intellectual ability to do the job you've put in for. But it wouldn't matter, because when they added local government to every state constitution, they're all unlawful ones. There is no such thing as local government at the standard they set. And Toomey lied, misled or deceived the people. She lied, misled or deceived the people in everything she's put in all of her so-called videos. Constitutional Clarion. Am I telling the truth and she's lying, or is it the other way around? You read the Constitution, you'll find out that I'm telling the truth. I only ever put the Constitution and decisions of the High Court that agree with what I say, because those rulings are correct. If they don't comply with the Constitution, we don't have to abide by them. You think I'm wrong? Sir John Latham, who was the Chief Justice of the country, he stated, when the High Court gets it wrong, it's wrong. Doesn't matter what people think. And we do not have to abide by it. Why? Because the supreme, absolute and uncontrollable authority remains with us. And don't say this superior court ruled this superior court ruled that. No. That's a lie. There is no such thing as Torrens title. It does exist for the benefit of people committing criminal offences against Australia and the people. That's all it does. It has no authority, i.e. it has no definition as a lawful title to land. You pay for it, it has to be in fee simple, alienated from the Crown, the only authority to tax it. Oh, now all your lovely friends are going to, well, where do we get the money for the services? The biggest majority of the money that goes into the coffers for so-called local government goes in payments to clowns like you, Van Stein, who sit there and lie. You don't misinterpret something. You don't make a mistake. You knew I won in the court. You lied. You had already sold my property. You alleged in the court and never got a judgment on it that I owed you $148,000. You sold my property for $300,000 without any lawful reason and without a court order, and then you took $152,000 from that money. If what you did was lawful, you still had to give me $152,000. But what did you do? Oh, that's extra interest. What the heck is extra interest? There is nowhere in the Local Government Act says there's extra interest that can be added on if you had a court order, but you didn't have one. You know the big problem I have with you, Shane Van Stein? Nothing that comes out of your mouth is honest. Nothing. You don't like it when people get in your face. Do I believe what took place at Kalbarri? No. Did it get judged lawfully by a court? I haven't looked at the transcript. If I did, I'd critique it based on what I've heard. But you conceal everything. You steal everything off me. You conspired with others to steal my property. Do I worry about that? No. Am I going to let you get away with it? No. I'm never, ever going to let you get away with it. Sooner or later, you'll go to jail. And when you go to jail, it'll be for treason against the people and war on the Commonwealth and the Queen or King, depending who's there. You are not getting away with it. We can fight back. You see, in line with what I put yesterday, you're a sovereign citizen. You think you're above everything. And you're not. And you are part of the one world system that the United Nations and all those morons are trying to inflict on the rest of the world when no one votes for the idiot sitting in it. No one. But you don't believe in all of the voting system because you manipulated it when you took over Greenwich when you had no right to. When you decided you were going to demolish a building which did not belong to you, which is the Greenwich Shire buildings. You have prosecuted somebody for living in what's the name of that place? Greenwich. No, over the railway line. Nungaloo. This is the district of Nungaloo. Yeah. It is not what you call it. And it's the area of Greenwich, because that's in the state constitution. You can lie, cheat and steal all you like, Shane, but it's coming back to bite you on the backside. There is no such thing as a state created under the Acts Amendment Repeals Court and Legal Practice Act. You now have a big problem. Anybody who continues or voted for you is voting for a liar and a conspirator. It'd be interesting to see if the federal police or state police charge you. Well, I know the state's not going to, because look at that. It's a civil matter. If it's a civil matter, why did you put it to court as a criminal? You wanted permission through the police department because the goods on the property were abandoned. They weren't abandoned. There was no ownership of land that I knew of, or anybody else who actually had authority to know of. All you did is stole that vehicle, all the stuff that was in the shed, and the property, and sold it. Then stole $152,000 out of the proceeds. How do I know? Because I've got the document that says it. Oh, it was extra interest. Can you prove that? No. If it went to a court of law, which you wouldn't let me into, and all your smart little trolls that come on here and say you lost your land. No, I didn't lose it. It didn't get lost. It didn't go anywhere. It was stolen by the City of Greater Geraldton, the police, the lawyers, Landgate, and Civic Legal. Now, you can lie all you like, but the evidence is there. You want to bring me before a court for what you call slander? No, try it. It's not slander, it's the truth. It's the truth. So you can wallow in the pig trough, the sewer, or wherever you think you're going to go, but I will never believe the people in this town, all of them, are stupid enough to vote for a moron like you who can't tell the truth. Can't tell the truth. You lie to protect yourself. The property was stolen, the money was stolen, but I didn't have it up for sale. But guess what? All you councils are registered under FARA, under the US Department of Justice, as foreign government entities. I have the evidence. Now it's going to cost you everything you have. Why? Because I can. We're just sorting out our courts to operate under our constitution in truth, instead of operating under your green piece of garbage in total dishonesty and fraud. So you have a lovely rest of your Sunday, and I look forward to seeing you sitting in the dock you clowns created, you sovereign citizens created for your ideals, for your way of thinking. Your way of thinking is corrupt, it's theft, it's lies and fraud. So you have a lovely little Sunday, and I look forward to seeing you behind bars. I'll be outside laughing at you. Why? Because you deserve it, and the people do not deserve you in there.